with Roger Fisher in Linda's Lair, where you have this cool little studio set up, and hopefully we'll chat a little bit about guitars, writing songs, music, things like that.
Yeah. When I started playing guitar, the first thing I wanted to do was create a new instrument, a new kind of guitar. So I had this idea for this kind of gourd shape deal. The gourd would go around a regular guitar, and you'd still play it down here, and so I started making that, and I called it the Zone, Z-O-H-N. I never finished it, but I think that there is still merit in the idea. We're living in Vancouver, BC. I met this guy, Ed Myronik, a guitar builder, a luthier, and God, can I go over and watch you work? Sure. I go over there, and it's just so fascinating to me. And so I said, you know, Ed, I want to make a double neck guitar. Oh, how would you do that? Well, I would just take my nice SG here, cut the horn off, and make the rest, and then put the horn back on top. We could do that. So that was my first foray into guitar building. In building this addition to a single neck guitar, I learned a lot about electric guitar building, and it was so much fun.
Now, why did you want a double neck guitar? What was the purpose of that?
Well, Jimmy Page had one. But no, more than that, just to have the ability to be doing this beautiful chimey 12-string stuff, and then go over to the 6-string neck and crank out a lead, and then come back to the chimey 12-string stuff. Yeah, so we did that, and we made this beautiful guitar, and I did some of the body shaping. I can sculpt stuff. It just comes naturally. It's arguably the nicest double neck on the planet. Of course.
And where is it now?
Well, right now, my friend in Atascadero has it. He has that, and this other guitar that I designed, I call it the LED Strat. I had the good fortune of meeting this model builder, one of the leading model builders in Seattle at the time. I asked him if I could come to his shop and watch him work. And yeah, I go into his shop and he's got all these really cool tools. So then I started telling him about some of these ideas that I had that I'd like him to help me with. One of them was putting LEDs. LEDs were brand new at the time. Putting LEDs in the neck for position markers. And what could we do with that? So then Chris had a friend and partner by the name of Don Ross, who was a really electronics guy. He's worked for NASA, now he works for JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs. Well, I told him that I wanted the lights to do cool stuff. And so he came up with this idea that, well, let's put it on a clock where you can tell it to do different sequences at different speeds. Yeah! And by this time, some money was coming in from Hart, and so I could afford to hire these guys to do this stuff. So I had Chris doing this really fancy woodworking on the guitar and inlaying brass. And meanwhile, Don Ross was putting in the electronics for this chaser light system, multi-sequential, to switch it, to have it do different stuff. They were voltage-controlled brass knobs where no moving parts. It's sensitive to the voltage in your body. So you touch the thing and it switches.
Did you know which one it was going to do? Or did you get used to figuring it out?
Oh, no, yeah. There was also a little readout, a numerical readout, so you could see which number you're on, so you could replicate that in the future. So you'd get number 12 up, which is perfect for Mistral wind, and you'd slow it down here. And then during the live shows, it was so funny. You're playing away there, and then the lights come down and Mistral wind starts. And I turn on the LED Strat, and there's this slow sequence going through up and down the neck. And people in the front are going, whoa! You know, nobody had ever seen that before. It was so funny.
Cool.
And
very
then,
cool.
Yeah. And so the LED Strat. So now, I mean, when you look at the transparent back of the guitar and look at the electronics that he created to do that, it's this board that's about that big of all the stuff. And now you could put it on a little chip that big. Yeah, that was a lot of work. to pull that off.
So you just bought a standard Strat off the rack and then started modifying it? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
The pink Strat, that's kind of new, right?
Yeah, this is real dear to my heart. This is the Pink Lady. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the world's only titanium fretboard.
Titanium on the front here?
Yeah, fretboard. So it's, an 1/8 of an inch thick, and then the frets protrude a little bit farther than that.
So why titanium? What does that do for you?
So one of my guitar students is a master welder, and his friend is one of the country's leading metallurgists. And I had told my guitar student Ken what I wanted. I wanted a titanium fretboard. Back in the 70s, I learned that titanium is the metal best suited to resonating musical frequencies. They used to make bells out of titanium,
okay.
The best bells.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And so I thought, well, geez, people should be using titanium in guitars. So the first thing I did was I went to Boeing Surplus. Seattle is the home of Boeing, and we always used to buy all kinds of cool stuff from Boeing Surplus. And I bought a block of titanium and routed out a hole in the guitar and put that block of titanium in there, glued it in there, and then put the holes in so you could mount the bridge to a block of titanium. I've heard brass and stainless steel used in various places, and they both change the character of the sound. They color the sound. But titanium doesn't seem to color the sound. It makes it more present. So where I really saw this most obvious the first time was when I watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And when I come in there with that guitar, there's something about the presence of that guitar that is really special. And that's when I realized, wow, that's what it is. And if you don't know what it is that you're listening for, you aren't necessarily going to hear it. You might say to yourself, oh, that guitar sounds good, or it sounds bright, or it sounds whatever it sounds like. But if you could hear that guitar compared to what it used to sound like before it had that fretboard on, you would say, that guitar sounds more present. Yeah. So,
what'd you back it with? What's the wood?
oh, yeah. So I had this neck made. That's a piece of swamp ash that was cured for I don't know how many hours, but cured for a long time, so it got really, really dry. And then I'm a real proponent of not touching poisonous things while I'm playing, you know. And so I finished it with coconut oil. And
looks great.
yeah, and when I sand something, it's smoother than any. Nobody smooths.
That's awesome.
Nobody sands stuff as smooth as I do. And like fret jobs, I love my fret jobs. I get frets looking like mirrors when I do a fret job. And I don't mean to sound boastful, but you know, I'm proud of those abilities.
About the head.
Headstock.
Did you
right?
design that?
Yeah. So we talked about songwriting in a previous interview, and I was talking about how in haiku poetry, the goal is to say as much as possible with as little as possible. And so I like reducing, making things smaller and lighter. As you get older and older, you want things smaller and lighter, you know? Yeah, so very small headstock.
It's unique. It's a nice design.
Yeah. Yeah, to carry on the theme of silvery metal, I had my buddy make that head plate. And when everything is connected to metal, you know, there's a different resonance than wood. So it's got a pretty unique sound.
Right. Have you recorded the new album with us?
Yeah, I did a lot of the recording with this guitar. And then one of my favorite guitarists is Jeff Beck, and the Jeff Beck signature Strat is seafoam green, like they used on 57 T-Birds. And I love that. I've always loved that color. And when Thunderbirds came out with that color, that was my favorite car, my favorite color of car.
And the pink color, how'd you settle on that?
So the shape of a Stratocaster, there's a Strat back there, and it's, you know, it's quite different. This thing is rounded. This is sexy. A woman could have some fun with this guitar, and it's got a butt, you know. This is the kind of thing I want to be touching on stage. To me, the whole business of music and entertainment is really sexual. I saw this beautiful color of pink paint, so I bought it. It was just such a, and Linda, my girlfriend, loves pink. It's her favorite color. So I thought, yeah, I'll make the gaudiest guitar on the planet. Seafoam green and pink. And I thought, this is going to look terrible, but I think I'll like it. And so I had my friend, who is a really, really good painter, master painter, take a look at it, and told him what I wanted to do, and he said, well, why don't you let me help you with that? So he did, and he very painstakingly masked so we could put that black line on there, and then masked again so we could do the pink by itself. And then he took it to his shop and just did a fantastic job. This is, I don't know what kind of paint it is, but it's really heavy-duty stuff. And yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. And then I cut off the heel there so that, you know, it's more friendly with the hand.
When you come up to hit the height.
Yeah.
So you have different pickups versus a standard Strat. What's so special about these, and why?
Oh, these are just standard Strat pickups.
Are they?
They sound great. Yeah,
Okay.
They're fine. One thing I don't want to do is chase my tail in the gear world, because that's a never-ending trip, you know. People get so invested in this gear and that gear and these details and just the minutia of all that stuff. I just don't want to spend all that time in that rabbit hole. I just want to write songs and get something out there that expresses what I think really needs to be expressed by a musician. So it's just a standard Les Paul with a mahogany back and neck and spruce top. But my friend Scott Dunham, really great, both electronics and woodworking guy, he put these new pieces on the top and did a beautiful job. And after he did that, I sculpted the body. I like my guitar bodies to be really sexy, so it's just sexy. It's nice. And then I put divots in the back of the neck so I can feel where the position markers are. I don't know why nobody else does that. I'm the first guy I know of to ever do 4 and 2, like on the Strat there. There's 4 pegs up on top and 2 on the bottom. I'm the first guy I know of that ever did that. And that first guy I know of who ever cut the heel off a Les Paul. You know, this was a 56 or 57 or 59 Les Paul, something like that. You know, most people don't take a saw and files and stuff and just cut into the guitar, but you know, it was a poor design not to have it be like this. And this feels great. You can play high up on the neck real easily. And yeah, there she be. And then I use piezo pickups in most of my guitars because you get that real acoustic sound combined with the dirt. Anyway, that's the bird.
Thank you for the tour.